Hi, welcome back to Finally Revealed. In this episode, I want to talk about jury duty in federal court. We have 94 federal districts, and that's how the country is carved up for the purpose of enforcing the federal laws of the United States. And there is a Jury Act, which was set out by Congress years and years ago, that sets out the basic rules for jury service in these federal courts. The Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees a right to jury trial in a criminal case. The Seventh Amendment covers the right to jury trial in a civil case. Eligible for jury duty in federal court come from various ways. The requirement is that the jury be made up by an impartial cross-section of the area where the crime occurred. That's where the prosecution will occur, is where the alleged crime occurred, or in the case of a civil dispute, it's going to be where the parties are or where the thing that is in controversy is. So in that situation, the drawing of the names for the jury is random because you can't have volunteers, and the reason you can't, some people have asked about volunteers, you can't have volunteers because people then can stack the jury. And it's supposed to be fair and impartial and random. So there, in the Jury Act, there are three types of groups of people who are not eligible, do not have to serve on a jury. And those are armed forces members who are on active duty. Those are fire department and police department officials, people who are actively, on duty in those jobs. And the final one are full-time federal, state, and local public officers, full-time. So if you're on the city council, that's not full-time in certain types of cities. In some cities, it might be a full-time job, but in other communities, it's going to be a once-a-month commitment or something like that, and you have a regular job. If your public service is such that it's not your full-time job, then you will be subject to being called for jury duty in federal court. Each of the federal districts can create their own exceptions for jury duty, and they do. So the rules that I'm going to give you are the ones for the requirements of what you have to have, and then how the court will determine if you are or are not eligible under some of these is going to be on that court's separate rules and the judge's discretion. We've talked about this in some other videos. Some of the districts have rules, and I think some of the comments below have mentioned that there's a 70 years of age cutoff in some areas. Other places, they may have a rule that if you have served on a federal jury in the last couple of years, then you can be excused this time. There are not any hard and fast rules for federal jury duty service as far as how many times you can be called in any particular year or decade or something like that. So you have to check their individual rules. 84 courts use the jurors service, and if you get notified that you may be subject to call, you're going to have kind of a pre-screen form to fill out, and they will tell you go on the computer if you are in one of the areas where it's going to be by computer. And in that event, if they do subscribe to the juror service, then you will be checking online to see if you have to report. Now, here are the requirements of what you have to fall within in order to be eligible to serve on a federal jury in the United States for civil or criminal, without going any further. Number one, you have to be a United States citizen. Number two, have to be at least 18 years of age. Number three, you have to have resided in the federal district for 1 year. So it is possible that you might get a notification from where you used to live, but you have now moved to a different federal district. If that has happened and you have not lived there for 1 year, you're not eligible yet. You haven't lived there 1 year, so make a note of that. And that might be something, if it's not convenient for you anyway, you don't even have to give them a reason. Just say, I have not been here a year. The next one is you have to be able to speak English. The next one the next qualification is you have to be able to read and write English sufficient to complete the juror questionnaire form. So those are two different things. And you know, some people, that is historically, some people couldn't read and write very well, but they were very fluent and could speak fine, and that was to prevent discrimination in that way. You cannot be currently under prosecution for a felony, and you can't have any felony convictions unless your civil rights that you lose once you're convicted of a felony were restored. So in that event it would be like you had the felony expunged. One is that you physically and mentally can serve. Now on that one, we had some people ask about mental stability and different things. That is on a case-by-case basis, and I could not find any federal case law that explained what that was. So you have to physically be able to sit, walk, stand. That's just from my own knowledge of what jurors have to do. You have to be able to listen and, you know, and understand what's happening. So those are the 8 requirements that you have to have for jury duty in federal court, unless you're one of the 3 groups that doesn't have to serve. Now, federal court is different than state court. Federal court has a fee. You get $40 a day if the case is a week or less, or your service is a week or less. And if it's more than a week or more than 10 days, you get $50 a day. The people who do, and that's for criminal or civil, the people who do not get paid at all in federal jury duty service are federal employees because they get their regular paycheck. And then the last thing is, on a grand jury, you get $40 a day. If your service on the grand jury is 45 days or more, then you get $50 a day. So that's different than in state court. The people who do not get paid at all on federal jury duty are the federal employees because they get their regular paycheck. And there is a federal law that you cannot be intimidated or fired from your job for serving on jury duty. But there is not a law that says you have to be paid. So find out what your employer's rules are for jury duty, and hopefully they're not punitive to you, because this is an obligation of citizenship. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you learned something or if this was helpful. Subscribe to see the other videos, and come back and see me again next time. Thanks for watching.